Good morning, Jain. It's a great honor to be presenting to you on this international conference. And we start with celebrating ourselves, celebrating a Jain community of just 4 million recorded population as per Indian census. And even if you don't take 10 million, 1 crore population among 800 crore population, among 8 billion people, we contribute substantial GDP of the nation of the world. And that celebration is not for our alone, but our future, our past generation, which have created this sanskar in us, which is fundamental to our current growth. We may treat those sanskar differently. We may say spiritual life is different from material life. But to me, material life and spiritual life are one and all. As a human being, we have only one mind. And that one mind can only think one thing, which is a common way of living. And Jain Dharam teaches us that way of living. So when I was looking design thinking, which is one of the popular word in today's way of working, so what is the difference between design thinking and management thinking? Management thinking started somewhere in East Coast in America. Harvard Business School started in 1908, a business school for when industrialization was happening. They started a business school and called MBA, Master of Business Administration, to see how do you maximize and optimize the resources which is there. So maximize the production line, optimize the resources. So it has fundamental principle of maximization and optimization. And it worked very well for next 80 years till 1990. And the next disruption happened in the humanity was Silicon Valley. The whole computer science movement which happened post 1980 was the next after industrial revolution. This was the knowledge revolution which happened in 1980. And what happened there? They looked at it, customer in the center, customer unmet need in the center, and then start building the opportunities. So none of the Silicon Valley company is in the same sector, which was traditional sector in the East Coast. And they start thinking very differently. So what happened that their thinking process shifted. There, the Stanford University started a program on design thinking in 90s. So when I was traveling in 2007 in Silicon Valley, and I was wondering what made these companies, each company to be equivalent to Indian GDP, whether it's a Microsoft or a Apple, each one is $3 trillion company with just 100,000 people, 200,000 people, they are able to generate a GDP equivalent market cap. And they are not one, they are multiple of them, but they're coming from the same source. The magnitude of this company suddenly changed the entire dynamics of what Walmart was doing, what big company like GE was doing, which was in $200, $300 billion range, which used to be itself is to be a big number, but they changed the scale to 10x. Then I start working on design thinking and I start understanding design thinking. First thing I look at it is Jain Shastras. So I start reading Jain Shastras, Tattva Sutra, and I was finding what is the difference in design thinking and darshan. When you say, we use word samik darshan, samik gyan, samik charitra. तो सामयिक का शब्द तो हमने अगर हटा दें उसको सिर्फ दर्शन बोलें तो दर्शन हमारा क्या मतलब हुआ? दर्शन का मतलब हमारा इंग्लिश मीनिंग होगा फिलॉसफी, इंग्लिश मीनिंग होगा उसका पर्सपेक्टिव, इंग्लिश व्यू होगा मतलब होगा उसका वर्ल्ड व्यू. आप किस लेंस से संसार को देखते हैं, आपका सोचने का तरीका जो है वो एक दर्शन हुआ. जैसे आपके सोचने का तरीका दर्शन हुआ वैसे ही आपका ज्ञान होगा, और उसके बाद जैसा ज्ञान होगा वैसे चारित्र होगा. तो दर्शन, ज्ञान, चारित्र becomes a core part of our sanskaras. हम हमेशा मंदिर में सुनते आए हैं, चाहे हमने ज़्यादा टेंशन दी नहीं दी अपने पिताजी की उंगली पकड़ के जब गए, चाहे हमने सुना नहीं सुना, बट कुछ तो कान में जाता ही है हमारे, और जो कान में गया वो दर्शन के ऊपर बहुत फोकस रहा, और जैसे ही हमने दर्शन बदला तो ज्ञान बदला. तो अगर मैं देखूं कि जैन प्रिंसिपल्स इन डिजाइन थिंकिंग, we need a power of purpose. For any corporate to succeed, it needs a purpose, it needs a direction, it needs a purpose for longevity. Institution building. Institution building is if you have right darshan, right knowledge, and right charitra, right character, how do you run it? Then there is a element of creativity. So when we say 3 A's of Jainism, Anekantvad, Ahimsa, Aparigraha, in 3 of them, if you look at it, they constitute all of the corporate practices what we say in management school. So any management person will say, you need to have a collaboration, you need to have creativity, and you need to have humility. Every corporate leader worldwide, any management books you have studied, humility, collaboration, and creativity are the 3 pillars of any good institution building. Now, if you look at it, what Ahimsa did. Ahimsa is you don't even think negative about somebody else, even from thought, speech, and action. When you don't think anything about negative about it, it becomes collaboration. Collaboration will be natural part of the humanity if you don't think negative about each other. If you don't attach, aparigraha to me is a non-attachment. It's not a detachment. It's non-attachment. As soon as you're non-attached, your capacity to take risk substantially increase because you're not attached to that particular project, you are attached to the purpose. And as soon as you have a non-attachment to the project, failure will be there, but the chances of risk you can take go substantial. Anekantvad. For creativity, you need multiple opinions, multiple perspective, respecting multiple views is what Anekantvad teaches us. Then I was searching for where the learning process is hidden there. How many of you have a budget for books? What percentage of your income you spend on books and learning? Do you have a fixed budget, 10,000 rupees a month, 20,000 rupees a month? We spend so much money in our international trips, buying a one shirt of 20,000 rupees, but how many of you bought a costliest book which costed you 20,000 rupees? If some book is written 20,000 rupees, will you touch that book? You will touch the one shirt of 20,000 rupees or suit of 20,000 rupees, but you will not touch a book of 20,000 rupees. Or you go to the learning executive programs in various universities. So the learning is very core of Jainism in our spiritual sciences. We say Bhaya Tap and Anta Tap. Bhaya Tap we are very famous for. What kind of Bhaya Tap we can do? We will not take hurry, we will take to it fasting. But Anta Tap is something very uniquely defined. And Anta Tap is nothing but a process of learning. There are 6 process steps of Anta Tap, and so beautifully defined. In Jainism, no other religion has defined learning process. It starts with prayashchit. Prayashchit is nothing but you are accepting that I need to learn. If you are in this conferencing, I need to learn, I will be spend 5 books per month. I will even scan the indexes of those 5 books. Still something will go in my hand. So I need to learn is the first step. Second step is a vinay. I need to be humble. Third step is your Vayavach. Now Vayavach can be treated as a गुरु की सेवा करना, पर गुरु शब्द है ना उसके अंदर, साधुओं की सेवा करना, साधु हमारे गुरु की तरह से काम करते। साधु का पर्पस कम्युनिटी में वो एक गुरु हैं। अब मॉडर्न सोसाइटी में उन साधु को थोड़ा सा प्रोफेसर से रिप्लेस कर दो तो प्रोफेसर जो है वो साधु बन जाता है। तो वैवच का जो मतलब है कंटेक्चुअल थोड़ा सा चेंज करना है। कंटेक्चुअल चेंज जो है वो आज के हिसाब से वो हमारा प्रोफेसर है हार्वर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी का या IIM अहमदाबाद का या आपके मैनेजमेंट कंसल्टेंट का। चौथा स्टेप है हमारा स्वाध्याय, जहाँ से लर्निंग शुरू होती है। उसके भी 5 स्टेप डिफाइंड हैं। उसके बाद ध्यान का स्टेप है, उसके भी 5 स्टेप डिफाइंड है। इतना डिटेल लर्निंग प्रोसेस कहीं और किसी शास्त्र में मुझे नहीं मिला। अब ना इस लर्निंग से मैंने अपना प्रोसेस बिल्ड करना शुरू किया। पोलारिस मैंने स्टार्ट की थी 1993 में, उससे पहले न्यूक्लियस शुरू की थी दिल्ली में। एंड पोलारिस in 2007 we started looking at that we should look at a product company. We should start building IP from India which can go to global world. So in global banks should start using those IPs. And that's the time when our journey starts for the product business. By 2012, we separated the company, and 2014, we demerged the company into Intellect Design Arena and Polaris, and started investing into AI business and cloud technology. So we invested more than 1,000 crore in building R&D for building the banking products in AI. Today, we are proudly says that almost top 50 banks of top 70 banks uses Intellect technology for their back office operation, their front office operation. Because of the design thinking we applied there. And design thinking, if I look at design thinking for scalability, I pick up a cube here. This cube is 1 centimeter. If it becomes 3 centimeter, what is the volume of this cube will be? How many times the volume will be? 1 centimeter cube becoming how many? 9 times. I'm talking about volume, not area. 27 times. The 1 centimeter going to 3 centimeter, making the volume 27 times. And this cube, if camera you can focus on it, what is written on this camera? This is looking at there are 6 capital, there are 6 faces of this cube, and each face represents 1 capital. In our community, we are very focused on this capital called finance capital. It's most dominant in our mindset. But in global world, the brand capital is the first capital. Second capital is end customer capital. Third is my leadership capital. Fourth is my IP capital. Fifth is my execution capital. And sixth is finance capital. If you combine the 6 alphabet, it becomes belief. B for brand, E for end customer, L for leadership, I for intellectual property, E for execution, and F for finance. Now this 6 capital, your belief, which is जो दिल से है, हमारा हंगर है, जोश है, वो दिल है, और बिलीफ 6 कैपिटल की साइंसेज हैं. अगर हम दोनों चीज़ों को कंबाइन करें, तो we need to do the design thinking to be applied for scalability. Scalability is about designing the brand and sales capital, designing the product or service capital, whatever service you are providing, how you design the product capital. Is it a few people design the product? Is it a science to it, or is it an art form of it? Or designing a leadership capital, that people, leaders who are there in the organization to grow the business. Yesterday you heard many leaders from Africa who have spoken about, and there are many leaders sitting here who have emphasized on leadership capital so beautifully, and they've grown their institution, whether Motilalji is there sitting in the front, and all of you are sitting there who have built this business is the leadership capital. How you design execution and operations capital, and how you design the finance capital. So finance capital to me is the last. If you do all the other things right, all the 5 capital right, finance is the outcome of it. Finance is not the input of it. Then how do you design? So design has first definition of design thinking is you have a human as a desire. Everything is bought by the human being. All of us are the buyer or something or the other. I need to understand what is your real desire. Technology or product design makes it feasible. Whatever the desire is there, something will make it feasible. And then business will make it viable, where Jain community comes very, very strongly to make feasible product which is invented in IITs can be made to viable. So going from the academic institution to go to the commercial institution is where the role of a trading community, role of a business community come picture, which is a viability. So there are three intersection happens. And desirability is sometimes unstated desirability, which is most important. Now, when you say customer desirability, it's a very common use word, customer desirability. It's a mystery. Initially, desirability of the customer is a mystery. You start spotting the pattern. In every new space, you start spotting the patterns. It becomes heuristics. And when it becomes algorithm, it becomes scalable. Algorithm means you have a formula for growth. So when any business you start reselling multiple times and you have a distribution network, it becomes algorithm. And once it is algorithmic, we can be given shift down to various people below it. And to get mystery to heuristics to algorithm, you need to be using 4 capability of human mind. What are these 4 capability? A lot of time when we are in trouble, we say, Lord, help me. And Lord means there are 4 alphabet in Lord. L stands for listening. So how sharply you are listening to the customer, how sharp you are listening with the neighbors, competitors. First is listening. In Lord, second alphabet is observation. How you observing the patterns in the market. R stands for reading. All the research report, papers, whatever is coming, R stands for reading. And D stands for dialoguing. So these 4 capability God has given us constitute Lord. And that is a gift given by us. And when we say, help me Lord, is basically help me by 4 sensory organs, what is available to us for understanding the mystery to the algorithm. Over here, I need to understand the customer, which means I understand requirement by listening, observation, reading or dialoguing, the stated need and unstated need. When I'm dialoguing, that is a time when unstated needs comes in. So a lot of time in corporate world, we have a very design review meetings. I started doing no agenda meetings. I don't define agenda for the large meeting. As soon as I publish agenda, what happens, everybody, is my agenda, not team agenda. It means it's a chairman agenda. So 1 in 2 meeting is a no agenda meeting. 1 meeting is agenda meeting, 1 meeting is a no agenda meeting. In no agenda meeting, in first 1 hour, there is a circle time where everybody who is a member will share what is the one thing which is bothering him and one thing which he is celebrating. So he wants to celebrate something, so he's celebrating one thing and he is disturbing one thing. When everybody speaks, 20 people are there in the group or 40 people are there in the group, if everybody speaks about one thing which is good happening and what is not so good happening, you get an agenda right. And those 20 people, if they are there and they are capable, they can discuss and make presentation and make conversation afterwards. And don't look at the time. Otherwise, what happens every time when the review meeting is there for half an hour, my turn is over, the next person comes in. So it means mentally I'm sitting in a meeting, but I'm switched off. So for understanding the requirement of the customer, you need to be applying all the 4 LORD. Then next step is observing pattern and anti-pattern. Pattern means what is happening good by your company, what is happening good by the industry. You observe what is happening good is pattern. Something which is not going good is called anti-pattern. Then third step is once you have defined that area, then you start doing the connecting the dot within a process or connecting the dot outside the box. And finally, still there is a space of I don't know what I don't know. When Jito did this conference over here, it gives the ability for you to meet so many other people, which will open up the window of opportunity, because something which is happening in Africa, nobody of us may be knowing about it. So this conference is giving exposure that this is also possible. So expanding our don't know zone. If I don't know what I don't know, where do I search? Which book should I pick it up? So these are the three stages of design thinking process. First, desirability, feasibility, viability. For desirability, I need to define what is the mystery of desirability, what is the heuristics of desirability, what is the algorithm of desirability. Then I look at it, unstated need, observing patterns, connecting the dots, and expanding don't know. Now, if you look at Apple, which is the greatest company we all celebrate, in 2007, we used to use 4 devices. We used to use, when we used to go travel, we used to carry a Casio address book. We used to carry one Sony music system, and we used to carry one camera and one phone. And all the phone with the batteries or charger, we used to lose something or the other in hotel room. This was the unstated need that all the travelers need, one smartphone, one device, not smartphone, one device which carry all the 4. It was not stated need. I never asked and I never demanded that I need a 4-in-1 device. They observed the pattern, and that's how they created a smartphone device, and rest is the history. And in that device, if you look at the design part of it, is the most phenomenal. When I bought the first iPod, it was so interesting. I looked around, there was no button to press. It means there is no failure point in the device, because there is no mechanical pressing the button like Sony and other people used to have pressing the button. There was no pressing the button. Then I looked at the device from top, front to back. I didn't find any screw there. There was no screw to open in any Apple devices, so that nobody can screw it up. The maintenance can be free. So if there is no screw, nobody can screw it up. Your maintainability will be higher. Otherwise, all the TV devices at your home, if you look at it, is always I found tape there, cello tape to fix the battery cover. Why it is happening? How many houses have that remote with a tape on it? Because we keep opening and keep closing. No purpose, but we do it. So those are the pattern observation, that when you put a screw, somebody will open it, somebody will do the, somebody will make a mess of it. That is what the Lord is all about. Now then I'll move to the next step, the 3 stages I move to the design. Whether you are looking brand design or a product design or a leadership design, all these steps are required. And then if I move to next, I said there are 3 laws of design thinking. First law of design thinking is less is more. Don't create too many products. Apple has just 7 products, doing $350 billion revenue, $100 billion profit with just 7 products. IBM has more than 150 products. They are much older company than Apple, much bigger R&D dollars to be spent on that company. So having a lesser number of products, you can be more focused on that particular product, and you can differentiate your product, which gives you the second law of design thinking. Last 2% is 200%. 98% products are similar. If you want to differentiate in a global marketplace, it's last 2%. 98.1%, 98.2%, 98.5%. Last 2% is 200%. How much price do we pay for iPhone? It's 3 times higher than the similar phone. How many price we pay for the hotel room of 5-star versus 3-star? Is 5-star hotel room is 3 times higher than the hotel room rent is for 5-star is 3 times higher than the 3-star hotel room. It's 2,000, 3,000 rupees versus 6,000 to 10,000 room is a typical Indian currency. And that pattern reverberates everywhere. What is the difference between 3-star room and 5-star room? From a staying perspective, infrastructure perspective, it has same 2 beds and same table and similar toilets and everything to be there. but 5-star gives you the last 2%. Apple gives you that last 2% security. But for last 2%, I need to make a humongous amount of investment. Each 0.2% differentiation in the product, if I have to compete as an intellect with Finestra, Temenos, Finacle, TCS, in last 8 years, our technology is much superior than TCS or Finacle or FlexCube, which was earlier the market leaders. But we spent 1,200 engineers, our research engineers, to do that last 2% is equal to 200%. And third thing is when you are looking at prioritization in the minutes of meeting, typically every minute, how many points are there per minutes of meeting? Some 10 to 20? Typically. Every meeting which you have, around 20 points are there. As an executive, how many meetings you do per day? At least 5 meetings. In a week, 25 meetings. 25 meetings into 20 points, 500 actionable points. How can anybody can follow those 500 actionable points unless we break it down by the weightage? I call it, is it a 1,000-gram point? Is it a 100-gram point or 10-gram point? I'm not saying ABC category point. I'm saying it's a 1,000-gram point. Let's pick up 2 points, 2,000-gram point per meeting at the most, not more than 2,000-gram point. If you're spending 1 hour time, just pick up 2 points which will make an impact. Those 1,000-gram is the most impactful items we need to pick up from the minutes of meeting. There are 3 laws of design thinking. First is less is more. Last 2% is 200%. And whenever you're prioritizing, prioritize the impact rather than the points. There are 2 parts of design thinking. First is design the thinking. Second is thinking the design. Design the thinking means you need to put the people mind to be designed. The thinking has to be designed. Imagine your brain is a 2,000 square feet apartment. We have a space of 2,000 square feet. Now, in our mind, we allocate the spaces. I'll allocate the space called imagination mind as a room number 1. I'll say learning mind, room number 2. I'll say doing mind, room number 3. I'll say effective mind, room number 4. I'll say influencing mind, room number 5. And I'll say giving mind, room number 6. Now, these are the 6 rooms, but in mind, the beauty is I can define the space virtually. My imagination room could be 50 square feet, or my imagination room could be 500 square feet, based on my stage of the company and what I'm thinking about. So how you design this mind space, and how do you keep this mind space different from Monday to Friday, Monday to Saturday? How do you use this mind space? How much is imagination? Imagination means what is the end state visualization? What your business would be in 2035, 10 years from now. What areas it will be working is the imagination side of it. Nobody knows what will happen in 2035, but still we can imagine this is the kind of business we want to run over there. When we started Polaris, we were a 2 crore company in 1993. Some of the young youth is sitting here, so I just want to give them a relevance. It was 2 crore company with 100 people company in 93. For imagination for 2000, in 1993, there was a Y2K boom was coming in. We took 40 people to one hotel for 2-day workshop. We call Lakshya. We named the workshop as a Lakshya. Lakshya is a kind of a focus for the future. In this forum, we don't think about business plan. Everything about the numbers is, but it is about imagination. Imagination, the future. What technology they are seeing. And then I have given the exercise to them of what I divided the group 40 people into 4 groups of 10 people each. And each group was supposed to do the exercise in the night that in year 2000, if you want to imagine your business, how big that could be. And what business we want to be in, or what business we don't want to be in. What kind of quality standard we want to give it, what social contribution we want to make. So these are 6 questions we asked during that time. And the document of 2 crore, the 4 groups, to cut the story short, one group says 2 crore to 40 crore number, which was more logical group. Second group look at it, 2 crore to 75 crore. One group said 2 crore to 120 crore. And there was a wild group says 2 crore to 240 crore in 7 years. Obviously, everybody's thrown them out that 240 crore. From 2 crore in 7 years with no resources, no startup system, no funding, bootstrap is something thinking out of air. But as a company, Polaris did 260 crore in year 2000. How it happened? There are certain steps we took. For creating an imagination, we can do it. All the 40 people we put into one group, give them an identity. We say that you are Konaks. We start sharing the wealth and we start creating a stock option system in India in 93 when the stock option system was not there. We created a Konak trust and given equity options to sharing the wealth. They didn't respect the wealth because they didn't know what the value could be for 2 crore company stock option, no value. But they kept it in their drawer just as respect to me. Otherwise, they would have thrown it out. What is the value of 2 crore company to give a stock option? So a lot of time we believe that our stock option is not valuable when we start young organization. Then we created a SBU, Strategy Business Unit. We given a space that 100 people, we make 20 people is SBU1, 20 people SBU2, SBU3, SBU4. So that space is there. So one unit start focusing on London, one for Saudi Arabia, one for Singapore, one for UK, one for US. Now each country is covered as if, oh, we are going to win in US. So that company, SBU head, has a desire. US is मेरे पास है. जैसे US उसका, हमने उसको दान कर दिया US. UK मेरे पास है. अरे यार, मतलब ऐसा कुछ नहीं है यूएस मेरे पास है, यूके तुम्हारे पास है, बट उसके लिए था कि यूएस मेरी टेरिटरी है, सिंगापुर मेरी टेरिटरी है. वो एक अंदर से जो भावना जगी, जो दर्शन जगा, वो मेरा वाला दर्शन जगा, ये मेरा है. एंड देन आई हैव टू डू डिफरेंशिएटेड देन यूके, एंड यूके हैज टू डिफरेंशिएट more than Germany, Germany has to differentiate more than Saudi Arabia. And that spirit of growth which happened, which made 2 crore to 6 crore to 15 crore to 42 crore to 83 crore to 160 crore and 260 crore. The CAGR 115% for 7 years in a row. We are Forbes 200 company in the world for the highest growth. So this example, I'm just giving it that we need to align all the elements from vision to sharing to identity creation to SBU structure. So everything is to be done together. If you do only one thing and you say we dream well, dream without a sharing may not result into the same kind of a perception. And for that, design the thinking is important. It's a thinking level. And this is about design the mind of the community. If there are 100 people, everybody should think the same way. And that's the biggest challenge for any company. If there are 5,000 people, how do everybody think same way? So I designed the thinking into 5 forces for the team. First is called skill of motor mechanic or gem cutting. What is skill? Skill is about knowledge. When you assemble it together in a proper line, there's a knowledge packets. I call smallest unit of knowledge is a knowledge packet. And for one skill, you need 20 knowledge packet to come together. And if you can distill your first principle thinking in algorithm, 20 knowledge packet, you can make the skill as a repeatable skill. That skill, when you applied again and again, it become expertise. Expertise is when you do the same job 100 times, 500 times, then you start smelling the problem. A surgeon, a eye surgeon takes 25 minutes when he do the cataract surgery when he start the MS. And by the time he become expert, in 1 hour, my niece is there, she is running a charitable hospital in our village. She does now 20 surgeries in an hour. And when she started the work for 1 hour, 2 surgery. So that's the expertise which happens. The way we do the programming, the way you do the financial advice, the way you do the retailing business, all of us sitting in this hall have that expertise in the area of their chosen expertise. Then this Google map which you're seeing is an aerial view of the satellite view of the situations. So expertise gives you a microscopic view, while perspective gives you aerial view. So you need to traverse as a leader, as a design thinker, you have to go 500 feet deep for expertise, and you have to lift yourself 1,000 feet above for getting the aerial view. Because why aerial view? Because you can connect the dots. You can see very clearly and you can connect the dots. This picture is about idea. What is idea? A lot of time we say, define the idea. I don't have time when I conduct the workshop, I take what is the definition of idea? We know idea, what is it, but what is the definition of it? How it happens? A motor, which is on the left side, it was designed to replace the horse cart. In 1880, the Germany Mercedes, they designed the car to replace horse with a engine. And that's why the engine is measured on HP, horsepower. Still, it's measured as HP. Horses have gone, but still, it's called HP, horsepower. Somebody, foolish person said, is this car can run vertical? It is designed for horizontal. Can it run vertical? Now, as soon as somebody questioned that this car can go vertical, elevator got invented. What happened to elevator? We created an Empire State Building. By 1929, Empire State Building got created. So by one connecting the dot from horizontal movement to vertical movement, it created a completely different Manhattan. So idea is about connecting the knowledge packet in a new pattern is called idea. You can do this knowledge packet connection in business and technology, within technology. When you connect within technology is a technology idea. When it's connected business and technology, it becomes 10 times more valuable. Like Amazon e-commerce. What e-commerce has done? They connected the one dot, they start connecting the online orders. Earlier it was a catalog-based order. They shifted the catalog-based order to the online-based order, and they created a $100 billion industry. But all the four skills, skill, expertise, perspective, idea, needs to be aligned, like an aircraft. So that's the fifth force called alignment. How role of a leader is to align all the five forces. So for any design team, I need a people with a skill, I need a people who has expertise, people with perspective, people with ideas, and then person with a alignment. So I need a 5-member team, minimum 5-member team for designing any product or any brand or any element, whatever you want to design. You need a 5-member team minimum. 5-member could be 10-member, 5-member could be 8-member, 5-member could be 15-member if you have 3 people. But the design team has to have a 5 different set of competency which need to have. So just to summarize, this is called sepia. Just for you to remember it all the time. Remember the color of old Hindi movies, the sepia color movies. SEPIA is a starting point for the good design team. A lot of time we set up this team right, but we forget about 5 more things. We say, what is the difference between Apple and IBM? While IBM spend more money and Apple spend less money, still get a higher throughput. There is a 5 frictional forces. Along with the 5 forces of growth, there is a 5 frictional forces. Friction is good or bad? Friction is bad, but it's good because I'm standing here. Without a friction, I would not have been standing here. Friction is keeping me on the stage. So how do I use friction for what purposes? The fastest car can be produced because of the best brakes they have, not because of the best engine they have. The first frictional force is a doubt. Whenever you're doing any initiative, doubt comes into picture. Is it right? Is the right industry? How do we handle the doubt? What is doubt? Let's understand the doubt. Doubt is all about just not clear. Somebody says, oh, it's not clear. You go to your father, you have a new idea. Father will say, I'm not clear. You may be clear, but you are not able to articulate this clarity. It may be just uncertainty, and it may be indecisive. And sometimes I look at into approval mode. I start getting approval mode. Somebody else will say, अरुण तू कर ले, मैं देख लूंगा. जैसे ही वो कंधे पे हाथ रखता है अप्रूवल का, मैं आगे बढ़ जाता हूँ. और किसी ने कंधे पे हाथ नहीं रखा, मैं हूं ना, नहीं किसी ने नहीं बोला, मैं सोचता रहता हूँ कि अगला स्टेप लूँ नहीं लूँ. You need somebody around you who can be sounding board, who can say, go ahead, I am behind you. Second point is conflict. We always have a conflict. Is it good or bad? Is conflict good or bad? Anybody says conflict is good? Sometimes it is good, sometimes it is bad, yeah. So conflict is a contextual. It's good as well as bad. But if you understand the anatomy of conflict, conflict happens because of difference of opinion, difference of perspective, and difference of expectation. There are only three ways conflict can happen. Two people can have a different expectation or a perspective or opinion. Now, if these three things are so important here, which is a conflict which we want to suppress. We say in our family, there is no conflict. Oh, our family is the best family in the world. There is no conflict. Our company has a no conflict. Our management team has a no conflict. We want to say we are best in the world by saying no conflict. But if you go back to creativity, do you need difference of opinion? Do you need difference of perspective? You need difference of expectation to be creative? Is the definition of creative and conflict is not the same? So if you suppress conflict, you are suppressing the creativity. You need a dialogue. Conflict is there. You need a dialogue to understand each other. The Lord, ability of Lord, listen, observe, read, and dialogue. The third is we use anger to align the people. We feel anger is a power. Anger is a power to align the people. Is it a power or is it a helplessness? When you are helpless, then you feel angry. When you can't solve the problem, you feel angry. And you take out the anger on somebody else to take out your own emotion on somebody else. We need to accept the failure. In design thinking parlance, you will have failure. Accept the failure with a humility. I'll just give you a simple diagram of anger to express anger. Every one of us has a mind frame, which is, let's say, 500 milliliter of anger, 500 milliliter of container, where I can take disappointments. So disappointment happen when I reach to the meeting late. I have some work which I am doing, it's not completed. Somebody bring a bad news to me. Every bad news is a disappointment. So each time there is a disappointment, this container of 500 milliliter in the morning when I do Namo Ariyantanam, it gets cleaned up. I go to office with this clean 500 milliliter container. And each disappointment keep on filling it. When there's a good news, it will start coming down. So during the day, this anger meter will go up and down. So you observe your mind, it will go up and down. Your emotional framework will keep on going up and down. And when you come home and you ask what glass of water from your son or daughter, and it spills over. Your container is already 500 milliliter. Though the disappointment was 20 gram, but whole container comes on your son or daughter for during the day, disappointments which got aggravated come over there. So observing what is the anxiety in the organization, what is the angst in the organization is important for design thinking organization. At Intellect, between 2015 to 2020, when the COVID hit, we had a debt of 250 crore. We all felt vulnerable. We could be angry, the 250 crore debt, what will happen tomorrow, COVID has hit, customer will pay, may not pay, everything was uncertain. Today we are sitting with a cash of 700 crore. So things change, but it need to be patient. There is a fourth frictional force is called fear. Fear of crossing this bridge. Fear of, and fear is something it of going wrong, of failure or commitment. So this fear is a fear is something which holds us back for taking the right decision at various point of time in our journey. And fear can be positive when we want to use fear to test out my competition. What is the competition strategy? That time being fearful is used because if I'm not accepting what competition can disrupt the market, I may lose substantial money. And then final is around ego. Ego is not about what car I'm used, what house I'm used. Ego is about the mental model of saying, I know it all. When my mind says, I know it all, versus I need to learn, it creates an ego. So there are 5 frictional forces. We call it decaf, doubt, conflict. For youth, these 5 alphabets are very important. They take decaf coffee all the time. So it's a decaf coffee if you can have. You are being observant about your doubt, conflict, anger, fear, and ego. Then there's the 3 forces. Since time is less, I will rush fast. There are 3 capacity levers, which are the exponential potential. Human mind thinks 10 times faster when it is vulnerable. When we are in difficult situation, we think faster. When you are in new city, we think faster. When you are in new scenario, we are thinking faster. When I'm thinking in the same environment, my speed of thinking comes down. It's a first lever of is vulnerability. Second lever is appreciation. Whatever you appreciate, appreciates. And sometimes we are so miser in appreciation, nothing goes out of our pocket, but still we don't do the appreciation. This certificate of appreciation, we tried out in a family. In our family function, we had my nephew was getting married, and on the reception party, we said that let's appreciate the people who organized or everybody else in the family. So on reception stage, we created a certificate of appreciation for Amma ji and Chacha ji and Mama ji for whatever the contribution they were making. Some were having a humor, something was, but it was given and presented in a form of certificate. Till date, they are preserving that certificate of appreciation. For the young kids in Ulas, when we work with mentoring the Ulas students, we ask them we give them 5 certificates that you can issue this certificate of appreciation to anybody. He said, how can I issue? Only principal can issue. Now, this is a limiting belief that certificate of appreciation can be issued by somebody else. Certificate of appreciation can be issued by any one of us to anybody. Don't we like a certificate, somebody issue a certificate to you and you preserve it. So every conference we do a certificate of appreciation post where whatever you liked about somebody, instead of saying, oh, I didn't like this in this, I didn't like this in this. And third capacity lever is my limiting belief. Limiting belief, which what we call Vyusarg in Jainism. What is the limiting belief? Whenever any failure happens, it results into, it's like a elephant who can break this rope, but he believes that he can't. Because in childhood, somebody put a rope and he couldn't break it. He tried 10 times in childhood, he couldn't break it. When he became adult, he's still in the mental model that it can't break. And that's what the limiting beliefs is. So whenever any company have some failure point or your uncle has failed, your neighbor has failed, we don't attempt that business because somebody has failed without knowing why he has failed. So a lot of companies which become older has a memory of failure versus memory of successes. So we have a much higher memory of failure than memory of successes. If you ask any corporate history guy how many times you succeed, and how many times you failed, you will have 5 counts of failure, but not 5 counts of success. It's a human mind. Human mind store failure to preserve itself better, not store successes, because success is not a kind of a preservation for him. So there are 3 capacity levers: vulnerability, appreciation, and limiting belief. There are 13 elements which you need to wire. It's a symphony. So design thinking is a symphony. You need sepia, you need decaf, you need well. It's like a musical note. When you play musical with the 7 notes, or you do a painting with 7 colors, design thinking is the 13 colors is required in your mind to work on decaf, well, and sepia. So you may be best skill guy, best expert, best perspective guy, still you will fail because you are not handling the other musical notes in you. This is about first part of the design thinking. When we take this program in a School of Design Thinking, it takes almost 1 day in this area itself. It's a 3-day workshop we typically do for Design the Thinking workshop in School of Design Thinking, where we invite a lot of government officials like AICT government officials came in, or startup ecosystem of Tamil Nadu came in, spent 3 days time. But we don't want to cut it short. It may be 2 days or 3 days, but one night is necessary for conducting these workshops. So we are now doing for the academicians. We introduced this program of Design the Thinking in IIM Calcutta. We introduced this program in SRM Institute. We institute in Kriya University. So in all the university, I believe is Design the Thinking should be first semester program before an MBA starts. Design Thinking should be the first program before engineering starts. And this is a book and curriculum we have designed around this book called Unmukt. This is a book. I just put it some of the slides, a detailed book over here. And this book is a curriculum book in IIM Calcutta and many other colleges on Design the Thinking. This is the kind of certificate of appreciation. We have a design thinking center, 30,000 square feet of design thinking center, where many Jito members have come in before going to London, and we had session in this place in Chennai. Many of you might have visited. This is our purpose of business. We apply technology to the money. This is a kind of a center, which is large center. For any design thinking process to start, the first step of design thinking process is cartographic view. What are the business you are in? What is the cartographic view? What all the elements of the business are there put into one paper? A lot of time we do hundreds of activity, but it's not on one paper. Like for this is understanding the market landscape, understanding the technology landscape, understanding competition, understanding trends. Can I take 15 minutes if it's possible if you're enjoying it? Otherwise, I will be rushing the slides and you will be losing the punch of this. I know you have a tough agenda for the organizers to accommodate 15 minutes. So the cartographic view is understanding the market landscape. How many competitors are there? Who is selling what? Is the first step there. Second step is technology landscape. When I say is design thinking for digital enterprise, now digital enterprise is a given. Technology is a given. What kind of AI is given? You need to move to the digital enterprise or a cognitive enterprise. So either your enterprise will be cognitive enterprise in 10 years or digital enterprise. Digital enterprise is given and cognitive enterprise is your choice. Still you have a time to decide whether you want to be cognitive enterprise in 10 years or not. Cognitive enterprise means you are having embedded AI in all the processes which you are doing. So you have embedded document reading systems, you have a document processing systems, decision-making systems, risk management systems, all will be AI-driven. Generative AI we are seeing in our life, which is happening. So I need to understand technology landscape in the area which you are working. Understand the competition. What the competition is there, what they are doing, and understand the trends. These are developing the frames. I call it framework thinking. Framework thinking is any problem statement, I want to break it down into frames. Frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, frame 4. I'll give you the example. This is like a frame for intellect. This is the one chart where whatever we do in technology, in business, banking business, is put on the one slide. And each cell is numbered there. G1 means core banking, G2 means lending, G3 means credit card, G4 means wealth, G5 means brokerage, G6 means securities, G7 means cash management, G8 means liquidity, G9 means trade finance, G10 means treasury. So there are 10 spaces of banking, and what goes in each of the banking from top on the front. So it's a one chart depiction of the complete business intellect is doing, and this chart was created in 2007 when we are not deviated from it. So this is a cartographic, this is like a global map which is there, which guide us. This is we take one piece, we go into details, we call detailing. So we picked up, in this space, we picked up core banking, which is a first block of banking, current account, savings account, and detailed out further. We call that first knowledge is the macro L0 knowledge. This is our L1 knowledge. We go to one level deeper. Then we go to L2 knowledge. Then we go to L3 knowledge. So we have all these charts wired to have each pattern from Japan to South Africa or to South America is all wired, where each knowledge packet is numbered, tagged, and each cell is having a knowledge written on it. Now we applied design thinking in 2016 when we completed the journey from selling the Polaris to Virtusa. I spent time in social development. In my life, I had a Tata as a first role model. In 93, I got Walt Disney as a second role model. Then Steve Jobs became a role model. And finally, 2012, when I visited Wardha, Bapu Kuti, Gandhi became a role model. When we are looking Gandhi agenda of empowering rural India, that inspired me to understand social development holistically. And we created an institution using Polaris Foundation called Mission Samriddhi. And I conducted almost 25 design thinking workshops with all the sectors, education sector, social sector. So I invited 25, 30 good NGOs, people who are participating, and do a 2-day design thinking workshop. Based on that workshop, I found the cartographic view of social development is very, very complex. There are 100 elements goes into holistic social development. And they are all fragmented today. They are sitting in silos. Unless I integrate them, they will not work. Today, we use this framework, 5 frames, D1 to D5. That particular cartographic view, we converted to frame. D1 means personal development, D2 means social development, D3 means economic development, D4 is ecological sustainability, D5 is institutional development. So whenever we are working in 100 clusters, each cluster has 4 to 5 villages. We are working with 1.2 million people where we are structurally celebrating the best practices in India in different states, from Jharkhand to Assam to Madhya Pradesh, UP, Tamil Nadu, almost 10 states, where we have a defined process and 130 indicators that how can we grow their growth cycle. So each 4-year cycle is divided into 12 growth cycles, and there is a structured program where we are measuring on 1,300 point the development index, which is currently being done. So we apply design thinking in social development. It's one of the most complex things for me to apply design thinking in a social development context, because people used to ask me, oh, design thinking is relevant for you in IT company, but is relevant for anybody else. I said, let me apply the most difficult scenario which nobody has applied design thinking. Let me do the social development. If we can succeed in that, it will be repeatable for any industry segment. The step 2 of design thinking is solving problem or spotting the big opportunity. So based on cartographic view, we need to spot what is the right opportunity and what is the right problem we want to solve. And this problem which we are writing should be well defined. And once you define the problem, it should be able to write on ice cream stick. If problem is not written on this ice cream stick, it means you are not able to crystallize your problem. So we ask a person to write problem statement in one ice cream stick, not one page of the problem. So whenever we look at opportunity, we use one page to describe the opportunity, not one ice cream stick to define the opportunity. So we have used this board, which I'm showing you. We have 10 gram, 100 gram, 1000 gram. So we have toolkit just to do the tactile feel to the change. When you are doing the workshop, you need a tactile because every time lectures doesn't work, you need to feel by various senses for looking at it. For this, we need to understand unstated, unfulfilled desire. We need to observe the patterns. We need to listen what is not said, conduct no agenda meeting, document questions and observation within chosen frames, choose taxonomy, effective question design. So this step, you have to ask a lot of questions. Asking the right question, asking questions after questions after question, innocent question. Question is the best trigger for getting the best out of each one of us. And give them a reflective question. Let them come back with our responses afterwards. Question is the only way for humanity to grow. Which is the second step of design cycle, which is the questioning cycle and defining the problem cycle. Then third step is around multiple expertise and perspective, which mention SAPIA, DCAF. We bring it over here. We bring it ideas here. And we use this idea generation phase. In idea generation phase, we have two principles. Yes, but, yes, and. We have a habit of when 4 people discuss the idea, first person suggests the idea, and you do your exercise in your anywhere you are working. You take a group of 6 people, say, I want to design a flying car. First person say, oh, I want to design a car, flying car, it should have this feature. Second person say, but you need to add this. If you replace but with the and, your thinking process will move forward. If you have a but, human mind will stop there. So these are the emotional issues which is there with yes and versus yes but. In this stage, we generate ideas, we generate many ideas. And this is a session of brainstorming. We write the patterns card, we write the anti-patterns card, what we should be doing, what we should not be doing. And this is the stage which is the idea generation phase. The fourth step is making choices. This is the most difficult phase for the leader who is an alignment leader. He has to make some choices. He has to create affinity clusters of the similar ideas rather than deleting it. Then he may have to go with a choice of 10 gram, 100 gram, 1000 gram. He needs to classify ideas into quick, bold, and long lasting. All ideas can be relevant. A lot of time we lose the idea in the company because I am looking long lasting workshop separately and quick ideas separately. Whenever you are having a design thinking workshop, you may have some ideas, categorize them. Somebody mind will solve the problem for 90 days. Somebody mind will solve the problem for 6 months. Somebody mind will solve the problem for 5 years. So different perspective will bring the methodology. And then making choices where you delete 80% and keep 2 ideas. Less is more, apply design, law of design thinking to put the design process there. It's an iterative process. You go to the convergence and come back to the drawing board again. So there are MVP 1, MVP 2, most viable product 1, 2, 3. 3 cycles typically it requires to get a product of the hook. So all the startups, all the youth, you may require 3 cycles of it. You need to have patience of 3 cycles. Today, startup systems are too much business outcome basis on investor front. So my personal advice is, it's a 10-year journey. If you're ready for 10-year journey, then you should get into the startup business. Otherwise, don't get into the startup business. You may have some early successes and few outliers can be there, but it's a 10-year rigor for getting into the startup. The 5th step is, which is very important for Jito and all our Jain thinking process. As soon as idea is there, we don't spend time in designing a story. Have you seen the 3 movies, Shri 420, Mukaddar Ka Sikandar, and Slumdog Millionaire? Is the story different in 3 movies? Shri 420 of Raj Kapoor, Mukaddar Sikandar of Amitabh Bachchan, and Slumdog Millionaire. All the 3 have the same rags to riches story. The story is same, but the presentation is different. It's that presentation which is the your own story. When you learn from Pixar, if somebody has not watched a movie called Inside Pixar, on Hotstar, there's a movie called Inside Pixar. They are 18 episodes of 10 minutes each. It's beautifully describe how Pixar create the creativity. And that's the storytelling I'm talking about, which you need to look at it, how you design a story with a single headline. And then selling the story. So building a narrative and story of your company, that this is my company, this is so different. If I'm an investment company, I'm a real estate company, how I'm different as a real estate company? What is my story of that real estate? Do I make a houses where kitchen is one of the most center pivot, where the family spend most of the time, or my drawing room is the most pivot? You need to have some differentiation in every business which tells your story. And designing the story. When you're designing the story, you have to keep your role model and self-image that you are a Karan Johar or you are Shah Rukh Khan. Keep the top level person that as if Karan Johar will design, what will he tell the story? If Shah Rukh Khan do the acting, how will he act on this movie? How will he take the space of center stage when you are doing your demo of the product? You are as passionate as Shah Rukh Khan will be passionate in the movie? This self-image creates a huge amount of effect in making your choices in telling the story. So there's a 5-step process, starting from cartography, spotting the big opportunity, universe of possibility, making choices, and designing a story. Then third chapter is culture of design thinking. Then each organization should have a culture of design thinking, which we need to build it up. There are multiple process steps are there. I'll not go through each process steps, from value proposition design to persona maps to empathy mapping to end state visualization map, framing, detailing, connecting the dot, asking right questions, no agenda meetings, circle times, design dialogues, not discussion or reviews, art of active listening. So there are 10 tools which is required for at individual level for building a culture. This is a simple example of persona map, empathy map. Then there is a design thinking tool for teams, art of framing questions, art of incisive observation from people, observation and data, making choices, observing decaf within the group, backcasting, not forecasting, backcasting. You define a date and you do the backcasting. The tool of backcasting, taking pause and conduct design thinking workshop, influencing change and adoption, invoking purpose through autobiography, experiential learning of overcoming self-doubt and fear, team games for, so there are 10 tools for teams. There are workshops, how you to conduct the workshop. There are some of the sessions, how various sessions runs. There is a bouquet of sessions. There's some environment. We created the environment with a multi-screen where you present on 9 screens so that you can do side-by-side comparison. We have a white tactile tools. These are all elements in our design center. We can use Google Sheet. We can use Miro boards. How many of you use Miro boards for your design? Wow, thank you. We can use Figma for visualization, Jamboards. These are the various tools, which is the digital tools. These are the reference books which are there. We can use any of the reference books for design thinking. It could be design thinking for business growth, which has very interesting concept of ecosystem design. There's a design thinking toolbox. There's a business model generation. There's a value proposition design. There's a digital art of possible, design of business. So these are the various books you can order. They are available. And if you get more interested, you can go into the. That's all. So thank you very much. I don't know whether question time is there or not, but it's okay.
No, we do have to have that.
You have
It
to
is
have
on
that?
demand,
Okay,
and
sure.
it is from the audience. I do not have to say how captivating that presentation was. The hand of applause already says it for itself. But we do have on the app a lot of questions. And due to time constraint, we've been asked to have one.
Okay. Questions does the design thinking. I think it's not about consultant job. Questions are always coming into our mind. In a day, how many thoughts goes through our mind from morning till evening as I wake up? There may be few thousand, 60,000? Yeah, Motilal ji, 60,000 thoughts cross our mind in a day. Now it's our mind to pick it up, which question we need to pick it up. Because each is a question. Every mind goes to that question. Basically, we need to calm down our mind to pick up these questions. And that question will give you the design thinking. No consultant will give. We need to be our own consultant. Thank you.
We would have physical questions as well, because we do note that there are a lot of people who are not on the app yet. Please register, but can we have a few questions? There.
Thank you for the session, sir. It was really enlightening. My one question is that at one point you mentioned that in any designing of the product or any processes, there should be minimum 5 people involved, like 5 different minds and competencies. So can you elaborate a bit on that, and what did you mean by that? Thank you.
Yeah. So the 5 people I mentioned about, one is skill. Person who, if we are designing a AI product or if I'm designing a mechanical product, a person who actually does the skilling should be part of the design team. A person who is expert in that area. So I should not have only one person, not skill and expertise. Keep 2 people. Third is a perspective person who is a larger canvas who can see. Then there are person who can have a more creative people, came from the design schools, came from the illustration, art and science school. So the point is, sometimes we all engineers design the system. We don't bring art student, music student, other faculties in design table. We need to have somebody with a creative mindset who can laterally think, is the idea person. And 5th person is my synthesizer, who synthesize all of them, who is alignment. So there is a synthesizer, there is an expert, there is a perspective, there is a creative, and there is a skilled person. Is a minimum 5 people team. It could be your own company team. You can bring other external people for this. Is okay. And it's a multiple, it cannot be done in one design. You need to have 3 to 5 to 7 workshops. It can go up to maybe 10 workshops to design a good product.
I should add, due to time constraint, I think we are going to close for the questions.
He-
But we do.
He's asking
Oh,
us.
yes, yes. Please, last question.
Arun ji, first of all, great presentation. I have no word to admire. But one question remained from the first line you started, books. Now, most of my answer always goes to the Google Baba. Okay, I can get all my answer in Google Baba, including our Agam, which are very descriptive, and they were in Sanskrit and so on so. But now they're available in English, Gujarati, or whatever you want. So, do you think that we should keep books, or we continue to go for Google Baba?
We need books very strongly, because unless you flip the pages, this digital is no answer to the books. Even if print it out, keep it in a book, but I think human mind is a slow process. It reads page by page. Digital is a so much anxiety-driven process. Personally, I am not comfortable. Next generation, maybe, they are ready for it, so I cannot challenge them. Personally, I am on a book. Yeah. Okay.
Well, they say there's always a traditional touch.
So thank
isn't
you
it,
very
to
much.
books?
We have some design thinking workshops in a school of design thinking. So if you want to register for 2 days or 3-day workshop, if you are really keen on it, you have to get into swimming pool, not just wet the feet from the corner of the swimming pool. Thank you.
Sir, can I please request you to stay back? We would like to felicitate you. Can I request Ramesh Haran, Mahavir Jain, and Nitin Chauhan to come up on the stage and felicitate our speaker?
Thank you. Thank you, sir.